Hello, everyone, and welcome to Marvel-ous Movie Mondays. I had to think about the name for a sec with Kelsey and Dill. I don't know; it's right up there. For our video watchers, our title is right on screen with us. Yet I had to think about it. Co-host Kelsey, how you doing?
I'm doing good, Dill. How are you?
I'm okay. Yeah, we're back to talking about TV. Well, we're gonna be done talking about TV in just a bit because we're covering the finale plus the last two episodes of Miss Marvel. We're kind of just calling it Miss Marvel uh, ha- end of season review or whatever we want to call it, end of series review because it's a mini series as well. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
we're covering the end of Miss Marvel, headed into August, which is gonna bring us some what is the show called? I Am Groot and some She-Hulk and hopefully some cool announcements. Next week we have. I actually haven't told Kelsey this, but Comic Con is next weekend, so we're going to be getting a lot of Marvel news. So I figured next weekend we could just kind of like our show can be just covering all the news that is said at Comic Con, and then with what
Mm.
time is left over after that, maybe we can think of something else to plan to do, something else fun to pass the time while we wait for She-Hulk because we've also got some trivia down the line. We got our taste test video coming up soon too. So a lot of fun things. But today we're talking about Miss Marvel. But before we get to that, Kelsey, do you have any news that you would like to share?
I do have news.
Ooh.
The Emmy nominations came out.
Oh, I totally was gonna look at those and did not. So thank you, or specifically for this show. So thank you for bringing that up. I totally didn't think of that. Yeah, go ahead.
No worries, Dill. I got us. So I found out through Marvel's Instagram, they advertised that they had won six or been, excuse me,
Nominated.
not one, nominated for six, I guess, of the more major categories. But I looked
Mm,
into all the in depth, like technical casting,
mm.
costumes, like all
Cool.
that stuff. Like I went in deep, and we've been nominated for a lot of stuff. Nothing too huge, like
Like we
best.
specifically.
Oh yeah,
I,
Marvelous Movie Mondays. We have been nominated for every single Emmy there
of
is.
course, of course, of course.
No, of course when I say we, I mean just
I
like
know, I know.
Marvel, the
Yes,
fandom,
the family.
the family,
uh,
truly. Um no, nothing too major like
mm,
best actor, best actress or anything like that
no.
or best series.
But
Nothing
our
like
boy Oscar Isaac did get a Best Actor nomination for a different miniseries, not for Moon Knight,
yes, he
but for
did.
Scenes of a Marriage. And I kind of predicted that back when we were talking about Moon Knight. I was saying, well,
Sure.
I don't know if they would not nominate him twice in the category, and HBO is really pushing him for that. So just happy he got recognized for something in general, and probably some other Marvel actors too that I need to look for. But that was the one that stuck out to me because I know a lot of people were
Yeah.
outraged, but I was like, he still got nominated for something, guys. Like, still a win in a way.
No, yeah, absolutely. I just think that his work on Moon Knight was just like incredible. So
No,
I
I
was
agree. I
really
agree.
rooting for that. But these are everything that any Marvel project got nominated for.
And
So
keep in mind,
we have,
everyone, that like WandaVision and some shows were from last season of Emmys, so a lot of people were like, "Haha, well, WandaVision didn't get a single one," and everyone was like, "It got like 23 last year, so like settle down."
what?
It was just
People are
so
so
funny.
dumb.
I know, yeah, they thought it was like a big like ooh one up, and I was like, no, WandaVision got plenty. You just need to simmer down and stop being gross. Anyway,
Yeah. WandaVision had its moment. Don't worry.
yes,
Um, okay, so What If got nominated for Outstanding Animated Program. Loki got nominated for Outstanding Production Design for a Period or a Fantasy Program. It also got nominated for, I'll just go through all the ones that Loki got:
hmm,
Outstanding Cinematography,
cool,
Outstanding Fantasy Sci Fi Costumes,
awesome,
Outstanding Music Composition. A lot of
yes,
music
hmm,
noms for Loki, and well deserved, I think. Outstanding Original Main Title Theme Music, um, Outstanding Sound Editing, and that's it for Loki. For
cool.
Moon Knight, we have outstanding fantasy sci-fi costumes, outstanding character voiceover performance.
Oh, for F. Murray
Um,
Abraham.
yes,
Nice. Very cool. Very cool.
Um, outstanding sound editing for Moonlight as well. Moonlight, hello, Moon Knight.
Moonlight won Best
Um,
Picture.
oh yes, that's slip of the tongue there.
No worries.
Outstanding sound mixing for Moon
Mhm.
Knight.
Cool.
Outstanding stunt coordination for drama series and outstanding stunt performance. And I
Cool.
agree with both of those stunt categories. I said, hell yeah, Moon Knight definitely deserves that shout out for
Hell
all
yeah.
their
Hell yeah.
stunt work. And for What If, like I said, it was nominated for Outstanding Animated Program,
Hmm.
Outstanding Voiceover Performance,
Do
Chadwick
we know for who?
Boseman.
Oh, Chadwick Boseman.
Chadwick
Oh,
Chadwick
awesome.
Boseman for his episode, and I don't know the other episode, but I can find that out in a hot second.
Well, was it
And
just him who was nominated? So it was
no,
probably.
no, it got 2 nominations for voice actor, but I didn't
Oh,
write
okay.
down the
Gotcha, gotcha, gotcha.
performances.
I'll look. I'll look
um,
for the other one. Yeah.
and then Hawkeye also got 1 nomination for outstanding stunt coordination for a comedy series. So
Very cool.
those,
It's only one for that one.
yeah.
I'm trying to see. Keep going because I'm still looking for What If.
No, that's all of them, But it was funny because I don't even know what 6 they advertised. Maybe just animated program.
Oh,
Um,
Jeffrey Wright for the Watcher was the other one. So,
oh, okay.
yes,
And can you
so that makes sense.
confirm that? Can you confirm the Moon Knight nomination as well? Because
Oh, I'm sure it was. Yeah.
I'm sure it was who we think it was, but
Um. Yes. I don't want to. Yep. F. Murray Abraham for the friendly type episode. Cool. Yeah. Very
yeah.
very cool. Yeah. A lot of well deserved. I mean, the technicals are really where I think Marvel's going to shine most of it.
Hmm.
WandaVision was like the first big one, so I get why like that got way more nominations than some of these ones, and also because like none of these series was like far and above the others in terms of like popularity like WandaVision was, because WandaVision again was the first one of a series of series. So yeah, still a good showing though for Disney for sure. Especially with so many other popular series like Stranger Things hype and all that stuff. The fact that it got any is pretty good. Um, Anything else on the Emmys?
No, that's it.
Cool. All right, so my
That's my
news,
deep dive.
totally different. The Disney Wish, a new ship just set sail this week for its opening press stuff, and there's a lot of Marvel stuff going on the cruise, including a Marvel restaurant called Worlds of Marvel. It is the first, I believe,
Hmm.
Disney restaurant themed after Marvel on one of these ships. It's a brand new ship. The ship is huge. I looked; it's got like 13 something pools. It's huge. I looked at like this video just going through the ins and outs. Like it is a ginormous ship, almost a little overwhelming. I've sailed on a few of the other ones, and like those ones are much easier to navigate. This one looks like a task and a half to figure out all the ins and outs, but that's kind of fun. It's fun to explore.
Wow.
But one of the restaurants on rotation, because what happens is on a Disney cruise, you basically get assigned a restaurant each night, and you have the same wait staff, so they travel with you, and you basically there's usually 3 main restaurants, and if you're there for a 6 night cruise, usually go to each restaurant twice, and one night it's the actual menu of the restaurant, and then another night it might be a themed, like a pirate theme, which is the same menu for all the restaurants. But anyway, World of Marvel is an interactive restaurant. It has it says it's a dinner and a show, because the show is essentially these little scenes that they filmed. You kind of watch a little movie as you go, and there's like a storyline. It involves Ant-Man the Wasp, Captain Marvel, Sam Wilson as Captain America, and Iman Vellani as Miss Marvel. Like the 5 of them are like part of the show.
Mm.
And they actually do. I saw on TikTok they did address the Ant-Man up the Thanos butt theory in the actual video. Ant-Man says, like, he's like, well, a lot of people ask why I didn't do this, and Evangeline Lilly as the Wasp is like, maybe another story for another time. I think it's hilarious that they brought it up. But yeah, it's a fun little interactive show. I don't know how interactive it gets in terms of audience participation, but it's something to watch while you eat. But I wanted to go over this menu because it's pretty fun. Each menu item on the main food menu is inspired by a location, which I thought was interesting because we are going to be doing a taste test video of some of the meals we've seen in the MCU. I think this is a cool like little pairing with that, and there are also some fun little cocktails like the Black Widow's Bite and the Stinger. But the meals, I think this is fun. So the appetizers, we've got a smoked salmon, which comes from Stark Industries. Interesting. Steamed bao buns that come from WEB Web. Hearts of
Mm.
Palm ceviche, which comes from the Wakanda Design Group. Crispy breaded fried shrimp coming from PIM Technologies. And then we look at the main menu, which is the entrees. You got some spiced pork chop, which comes from Wakanda, some chicken schnitzel from Sokovia, some seared turbot fillet from New Asgard, golden mystic pasta from Kamartage, and Delmonico ribeye steak with a black truffle butter from Madripoor, which I think is really, really fun. They also have a shiitake and
Wow.
tofu vegetarian option from Talo, a ricotta gnocchi vegetarian option from Wakanda, and then for a lighter note, they have lamb shawarma salad from the Shawarma Palace NYC. So I just thought it was very fun to see this menu and like see the inspirations, how they make fine dining fit with Marvel, because all these Disney
Yeah.
restaurants on the cruise lines are very fine dining. So it was interesting to see how they kind of wove the theme in there. A lot of fun. I don't know if I'll ever go because as you know, the years go on, the prices go up and the ships get bigger, and who knows? But very, very cool that there is a Marvel restaurant. You could all see videos on it online, going in and out, the ins and outs of that. But I just thought it was funny, especially all those like themed food things, because you think like schnitzel at a Marvel restaurant, how does that fit? And it's like, oh, it's a Sokovian dish, and I guess like, okay, that makes sense. But yeah, just a little funny little thing I saw, and I was like, wow, that's pretty fun. So if you want to check out that video too, I think the whole thing's online somewhere. Really fun to see like Brie Larson and Iman Vellani, and Anthony Mackie, as well as Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly, getting some more work done, getting some more paychecks. And I do believe Ant-Man and the Wasp actually do show up at the end of the meal, like in person, which is cool. And of course, because they have the masks, it could be anyone. But you
Right,
know,
right,
the
right.
little kids think it's really Ant-Man and the Wasp, but you know what I mean.
But still exciting.
Yeah, so that was my news. Definitely different from yours, and I'm glad we did have different news because I completely forgot about the Emmys, and that made me very happy.
Okay.
But I did want to share that little tidbit. So
Thank you, Jill. That's awesome. I did not know about that, so that's really
mhm,
exciting. I
cool.
will say though, news in my personal life. So I
Oh
started watching The Boys on
yes,
Amazon Prime. Have you watched?
I have not watched, but I've heard great things. I actually am planning on that's like high on my list. I got to finish Mad Men, then I got to go back to Buffy, and I got to finish Succession. I've got a lot of things to do, but that is on the list.
Yeah,
That is on the list.
there's a lot of TV to watch. I can
Especially for the
understand.
Emmys, I want to try to get a few of them in as well. Like, I need to finish Severance is another one that is like so good
Oh
that is
yeah,
nominated.
yeah, yeah,
Need to
yeah.
finish Severance. Need to watch Stranger Things, which we're gonna do together soon. Yeah, like a
Yeah,
lot
we
of things
sure are.
I need to check off the list. But tell me what about the
Absolutely.
boys?
Well, The Boys is just so interesting because it's such a well-written and like entertaining show. If you don't know The Boys, it's a superhero show, but it's like every like superheroes are just so it's like what would happen if superheroes were actually a thing and America just like and capitalism just like got to them and
Yeah.
would use them for, uh like movies and to be like kind of more like showmen rather than actual heroes. And it's like
Mm,
it's conflicting because it's like, damn, this is probably what superheroes would actually be like, especially in America. But at the
yeah.
same time, I'm watching it going, no, these aren't anything like the superheroes I know. Like Tony Stark
Mm.
may be a narcissist, but he's not as bad as Homelander. Oh my God. So I feel like, anyway, the reason I brought this up was because I feel like The Boys was, if Thanos happened in the Boys universe, Ant-Man going up the butt and
Would absolutely happen. Yeah.
expanding would absolutely happen in the Boys universe
Yeah.
because it's just that graphic and
Yeah.
gory and insane and
Yeah.
shocking every single episode.
Yeah, I've heard it's like the best thing ever, so I got to check it out. But yeah,
Recommend.
now we got to segue to probably the most family friendly
Yeah. Oh, but
superhero
interesting
stuff out there.
segue.
Interesting segue from up the butt to Jersey City here. Or actually, well, two of these episodes, Jersey City is an afterthought for sure. But we'll talk about it.
Mhm.
Miss Marvel, we've kind of been on a little bit of a roller coaster. Really like the first episode, second episode was third episode was great also. And that's where we left off with our Miss Marvel coverage. So Kelsey, we're going to talk about the last three episodes. We're not going to go beat for beat like we normally do with
Mm-mm.
these, just because it's three episodes, and two of them, well, we'll get to it, but I think it's very interesting how they decided to carry out this last three episodes and what they decided to go with in this series and the directions they took. Kelsey, do you want to talk about our general thoughts first, or should we just kind of dive in episode by episode before giving the series as a whole a little glance? How do you feel we should approach this, since we've never done
What?
three episodes at once?
Yeah. Well, honestly, Dale, I have like one page of notes each for
Okay,
every episode. So why don't we just go through all three and then we can give our final thoughts at the end?
cool. Yeah, all right, take us away.
All right, so starting with episode 4, Seeing Red. This is my synopsis.
Not to be confused with the Pixar film Turning Red, which is, I think, infinitely better than this episode, but we'll get there.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you, Dill. I don't disagree. So Kamala learns more about herself and the clandestines as she tries to stop them from tearing a hole in the universe. So this
Not to
was
be
the
confused
episode.
with tearing a hole in Thanos like Ant-Man wanted to do.
Oh God!
I'm gonna keep bringing
Oh
it up as much
God!
as possible.
Try to slide that into every conversation naturally. I
Well,
dare you.
Ant-Man, he should have slid in, but he didn't.
So, oh God, it took me a process. It took me a moment to process that. Okay. So this was the episode. You know, Dill, there were things that I liked about this episode, obviously things that I did not like. But this is the episode that I'm like referring to in my brain as like the really action-packed episode. I feel like we got a lot of chase sequences in this one.
Yeah.
There was a prolonged, fight scene. Just a lot happened. We met a new character. We're more than halfway through the series. We're still meeting new people.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'll spoil my thoughts right now. Meeting him, I don't know his name. I'm going to Google it right now. Was honestly a highlight for me.
Oh, okay, cool.
Of the episode. I really liked him. I thought he was cool. I thought that him and Kamala meeting was super interesting. The way that they like fought each other at first, and then he was like, "Come with me if you want to live," and then. Yeah, he was like, "I'm just kidding. I just always wanted to say that." I thought that was like, cute or whatever. So, give me your thoughts. Let me know.
Yeah,
How do you feel?
It's interesting because this episode, I think a lot of the charm, and we were kind of talking about this series, at least the first half, was the familial aspect, but mostly like her navigating her coming of age. And in Jersey City with her friends, and the last episode ended on like her best friend finding out that she was this superhero, and like the fallout of the brother's wedding, and now all of a sudden we're on a plane going to Pakistan, and it's almost like they ditched that whole like where we were going completely. And I get the whole like storyline here that we wanted to go and find out more information about her backstory and the grandmother and all that stuff, but it almost felt like I was missing kind of the heart of what the series was, in favor of trying to just expand the world more. And I think with a series like this, if it's an introduction to a character, I don't necessarily know if we need to expand before we've covered the surface level with the character yet. Like a lot of these movies, we're getting a character origin story first and then throwing them in with the Avengers and kind of going into other different deep dives into their characters and backstories later and stuff. Whereas here, it's like, it's only been 3 episodes, and I feel like I'm just starting to get a grasp of what the series is about, and to now send her away, I kind of wish it had stayed in Jersey City. I think this was just a subplot that didn't necessarily need to happen. I think if you take it away, the series, I think if you watch the first 3 episodes and then the 6th episode, I think it kind of works as a one big thing. I don't necessarily think this 4th and 5th episode added much for me. It just kind of added extra exposition on top of everything we already knew, rather than like progressing the story for me. So these next 2 episodes, I don't have a lot to say because it just kind of seemed like we were kind of on a side quest, which answered some questions about the background and the backstory and had some cool moments. But I felt like, the heart of the series was back at Jersey City with her just kind of learning what it was like to be a superhero herself and kind of have these moments on her own rather than needing to get all the answers right away. I almost think this would have been better if it was 2 seasons, and the second season is where we can kind of go into like what happens now when she goes to Pakistan and what she finds out there, and like kind of have their own story there after like Bruno has gone off to his thing, his little program or whatever, and after
Caltech.
At Caltech, and after everyone's kind of gone their own separate ways, and then she can go to Pakistan and kind of get those answers rather than trying to fit that all into just a 6-episode series. That was kind of my big complaint, and I know that kind of spoils my thought on just the whole second half or these next 2 episodes or whatever, but I think it's important to understand just as a whole these 2 episodes where it kind of lost me a bit. Like this is where I kind of fell off the series before, spoiler alert, the finale picked me back up. But yeah, it seems like you found his name now. Yes, or
yes, his name is Kareem.
That's right.
AKA Red Dagger, who is a character from the comics.
Right.
Yeah, liked him a lot. I'll also say, Dill, I get what you're saying about, like, missing like the charm and kind of like the themes and motifs we were given in the front half of this series, and now kind of like lost most of it in these
Hmm.
last 3 episodes. But I will say, like, being in Karachi and like kind of experiencing, you know, Pakistan, it's like through the eyes of Kamala. Like, I don't know if it was her first time there, probably not, but she only gets to like visit this half of her life every
Right.
now and again. Like, she but is an American citizen, like born and raised. So to like
Right.
see her, be not reintroduced necessarily, but um figuring out how to do life and like customs and everything, and like the
Hmm.
home country that her parents are from. I thought like that was like like an interesting take, just to see through the eyes of this teenage girl. And I
Yeah.
thought that it was like a great to experience. Like, I thought that the set itself was just like really fun. Like, there's a lot going on. Like,
Yeah.
it was production wise, like
Hmm.
I felt like a cool place to be.
Yeah.
um
You know what it is, Kelsey? I think you know what this reminds me of. This reminds me of people their complaints with season 2 of Stranger Things, where like you have that one-off episode where 11 is with those other kids, and those kids are never like kind of brought back into the story ever again. It's like a one-off.
mm,
I think
sure.
the reason I don't mind that episode is because it's in a season of like 10 to 12 episodes, so we kind
Mm-hmm.
of like there's time to spend elsewhere to where it's like a side mission, but then it comes back to the main narrative. I think the problem is just that there's 6 episodes. So when you take 2 whole episodes to kind of divert, and yes, we learn a lot from these episodes, but is it information that necessarily pertains to everything else that was going on necessarily, especially with what we find out in episode 6? Maybe not. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the problem is there's only 6 episodes to tell this story and introduce us to a character. And it just seems like these 2 episodes felt like a side quest that maybe could have happened in a bigger season or across multiple seasons rather than being a third of this whole series. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get you. I also really like the fact that we finally got to meet Nani. I was like,
Yes,
I was stoked about that.
she's a fun
And
character, yeah, and I like
yeah,
seeing that dynamic with her and her mother, and
yes,
Nani and her mother as well, like the kind of
yes,
parallels, and just like flipping. I don't know if it was this episode or the next one, but like flipping through the photo book and like that was your
mm-hmm.
mom, like that kind of stuff is fun, and that's where I've always felt like the action and the family stuff has been a little bit separate to me, and the family stuff is the stuff that shines the most for me.
Yeah, yeah. I think that this, like, Nani and Kamala's mom, their relationship and kind of them like rekindling and like trying to fix through everything and talk through everything was definitely at the heart of this episode.
Mm,
Which I think was, one of the stronger, it was one of the just the stronger moments for me. For sure. And I'm just like reading through my very messy notes that are just all over the place. So we learned a lot about the clandestines, and they're from another realm. So it feels very, multiverse of madness energy coming from this episode. And basically, their world exists behind the veil of Nor, which we know, like, Nor, they've been referring to, like, is this light that is, embedded in Kamala's powers. And basically, they want to unleash the veil onto the world until there's nothing left, because they're just trying to get home. But at the end of
hmm.
the day, if they open up this portal, this veil, whatever, to get home, they're going to destroy everything in the world that we know and love. So that's like because I feel like I gotta say, Dill, with all what was going on in this episode, I just felt like a lot of, dare I say, the plot was getting like lost in translation.
That's what I'm
I
saying. Yeah, it
Yeah.
just went on a total sidetrack. I agree. I agree.
Yeah. One of my other favorite parts of the show was when was like the fire pit scene where Kamala was hanging out with Kareem and some of
Hmm.
the locals, and they were eating, some of their snacks, and she even had to lean over to him and say, like, is it spicy? Like, and before, I just thought, I don't know, I feel like this gives a lot of credit to um Oh, what's her name? It's escaping me in this moment. Who plays Kamala?
Oh, Aman Vellani. Yeah.
Aman Vellani. I feel like this gives a lot of credit to her because I just feel like she has this like effortless chemistry with almost every actor she works with on screen
Yes.
because like we met
Even
this
off screen,
guy.
like in interviews and shit too. Like that's just
No,
her.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Because like we just met this guy and like already like they have these quips and they have these inside jokes and they have this like, dare I say, like not even chemistry in a romantic way, but they just have this like chemistry. And even before the fire pit scene, there was a scene where she was meeting, like the rest of the Red Dagger society, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, why does like the soup look like this? And he's like, that's what it's supposed to look like. Like you probably are eating some Americanized version of it, back in
Yeah.
Jersey. And she's like, oh, I have a question. Was it hard finding a scarf big enough for your big mouth? And it's just like
Yeah.
little things like that where I was just like, this is their relationship and this character has definitely been the highlight of the episode for me.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So, like I said, starting off that there was just like a lot of action in this one. We have a whole like car chase through the streets. Kamala and the Red Dagger, and the Red Dagger fight them. Their mentor dies. Who we just met this guy, and now he's dead.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
and I'm
it's very
supposed to
rushed.
mourn him, I
Right.
guess, but I don't know him, so I'm
I think,
not.
yeah, that's another criticism I had with this one and the next episode is there were a lot of moments that were like kind of milked as like these big emotional moments, but like we've had literally 40 minutes or less to invest ourselves in the things that they're trying to get us emotional about. To where I'm like,
Mhm.
how are we supposed to possibly get teary eyed or misty eyed at this stuff? Like it's
Yeah,
tough because it's like it's so short. Uh, it's happening over such a short period of time, so
yeah.
another thing, and that even more so in the next episode, there's so many moments that are tried to be like milked for like oh wow, like I'm so emotional, and I'm like, I'm just not getting there yet, you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah. And and then this episode ends with Nejma. Nejme? Nejme. She stabs the bracelet
Yeah, the
that
bangle.
the bangle that Kamala is wearing, and Kamala is catapulted through
Back in time.
time, and she's just back in time. She's in the past. It's like the legendary the train story that we've been hearing about where everyone's trying to get on that last train out of
Yeah.
Karachi, and she's just in the throes of it. And that's how our episode ended.
It's literally the oh yeah, you thought this was about the friendly neighborhood superhero? Well, guess what? We're gonna not only send her to Pakistan, but send her back in time. And it's like, can't we just enjoy the simplicity? Why do we have to do it? But
Sure.
I get what they were trying to do, and it's kind of like I think Marvel's gotten used to like their penultimate episode being like the big like let's go back and like change everything you knew about the backstory, kind of like with WandaVision and Moon Knight. But here it just didn't. I don't know if the story, like you were saying, lends itself to this necessarily, like needing to like go back in time and do this whole like Harry Potter Patronus thing, which we'll
Okay,
also get to.
sure.
Tell us now
Sure.
about episode 5.
I really quick deal before we move on.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
I agree with you 100%. I think that's why I liked, the fire pit on the beach moment so much was because I loved the moments where you just kind of got to watch Kamala be a teenager. Like it's
right.
super fun to watch her, obviously be a superhero and figure out her powers and, how to help people and all that, but I feel like at its core this show was really fun because we just got like a coming of age story first, and
Mm-hmm.
obviously now we've lost all of that in these
Right,
last 3 episodes.
right,
It's all
right.
about the superhero business now. It's all about the
Yeah,
CGI and all that.
yeah. So tell us about episode
S-
5. Yeah,
so moving on to episode 5, Time and Again. So this is what I call the Aisha episode in my head to just like
Aisha. Yeah.
to keep them all straight. Okay. Here's my synopsis. In a flashback episode, we watch the events in Aisha's life leading up to the legendary Day of the Train story.
Yes. And again, it's more backstory. Again, episode 5, the penultimate episode, we're still getting backstory, but not in the sense that like because WandaVision and Moon Knight also gave us a lot of backstory in the penultimate episode, but it was after we had already kind of like gone forward with the story and it kind of recontextualized everything. Whereas here, I feel like we're still just doing backstory without a lot of like emotional heft. and this is where I was talking about, like, a lot of these moments, they played up to be these huge dramatic moments, tear-jerking moments that I just couldn't feel because it was all so rushed, you know what I mean? To
Sure.
where the emotional moments didn't impact me like they did in WandaVision and Moon Knight. But I don't know. What are your thoughts on this one?
So, Jill, I really liked this episode a lot.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And I'm glad you
Uh,
did, because I'm being a little bit of a negative Nancy. I'll be more positive because I like the finale a lot. But like for
okay.
this one, I was still like, just get it back to Jersey, get it back to Jersey.
I
Um,
don't know. I really liked this one.
mm,
So we start off right off the bat by getting our intro, and it slowly fades into like a very old timey sepia. You know, it loses its color. It's very grainy. The screen gets smaller. It gives me like WandaVision vibes during our
mm,
first few episodes of WandaVision,
yeah,
when we were watching it through an old timey lens. And we start off by getting a history crash course. It's Crash Course with John Green, and essentially we're learning that this was like they're celebrating the day, August 15th, 1947. India was free from British rule. So now these, but obviously they're like, but first, before we get to this day, this monumental moment, we have to go back to where it all started in 1942, when India was still very much occupied by British rule. And
right.
I think I said this before, but I will not let you know how shocked I am that all this happened in like the 1940s. I thought the
Yeah.
British were like ruling over everybody in like the 1800s. I didn't
No.
think that they kept doing that in the 1940s.
Hmm.
I thought that there was only one guy who was trying to rule a bunch of shit in the 1940s,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
wasn't too good either.
Yeah,
So
it's crazy.
I
We're,
don't
we're we're not even 100 years removed. Still,
know. I'm
it's
like
crazy.
I'm flabbergasted. So I love this because it was just so like boy meets girl.
Mm,
And it just felt like a nugget, like a cute little like love story nugget. And we were able to live in these moments with Aisha and her husband, and how they
mm.
had, Nani, the grandmother. What's her name? What's her real name? It's like Suni? Oh, Sana. Um, and I just really like this Eptil. I
Okay.
thought that it was really cute and
Yeah.
charming. And I will say, I don't get the plot twist of it all. I don't get how that works in my brain. I've crunched the numbers. I've
Yeah.
ran them. I've thought about it a few times, because the big reveal of this episode
Yeah. It's the
is that
Patronus.
it's I think you mean to say time turner. Is that what you're trying to say?
Yes, and when Harry is his own Patronus, when Harry sees the Patronus, it was
Oh,
actually
yeah,
him.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Prisoner
yeah,
of
yeah.
Azkaban.
Yep,
Yeah,
yep,
yeah.
yep,
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 yep.
yep, yep. Okay, now I'm following. I'm following.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
because I was
It's
like,
the
the
same exact
Patronus, like
thing.
it's on an animal itself, but I get what you're saying now.
Yeah.
And
She
it's
was the one. It
Kamala.
was Kamala who was the stars or whatever. Yeah.
Kamala, who was there in the past, who led Nani back to her dad with her powers, and that's why the twinkling stars are there. But I'm like, but the future hasn't happened, so how could it be in the past? And now I'm like having more flashbacks to Avengers Endgame, where Hulk is trying to desperately explain to me how they're going back in time, but like they have to put the stones back where they were, because that doesn't become your future. That just becomes a different. And I'm confused.
Yeah.
Dill, do you
I
get it?
well, that's the thing. I think again, I don't want to keep sounding like a dead horse that's being beaten, but like, is that the phrase? Beating a dead horse? I think that's a phrase, right?
You're so close.
What is
Um,
it? What is the
um,
phrase?
you could say I don't want to sound like a broken record.
Well,
That's
yeah,
probably
okay.
that's probably
I think I
better.
already said that earlier though. I don't know. I don't want to break
Okay.
a record twice. But I feel like because of how rushed this whole side quest to Pakistan was and all that, and now another
Yeah.
little side quest on top of that side quest of going back in time, it's like I just don't have enough time to really like process it for those like that big reveal to be worth to mean a lot to me. And it's like I almost think
Hmm.
if you had done a trilogy of films and like the
Interesting.
first film is her being this young girl finding her powers or whatever. The second one is the clandestines trying to target her, and then the government coming after her, and you've got two groups coming after her, and then she escapes to Pakistan. Then your third movie is like this exploring the backstory and seeing how she's connected to all of it, a Prisoner of Azkaban style thing. I think that would have been a lot more successful. When you have 6 episodes, it's like this fifth episode, it just seemed like I just wish it was maybe a little longer to kind of flesh it out, or maybe a little bit more thorough. Because you're confused, I'm not confused, but I'm also just kind of like like it doesn't really have its emotional weight to me just watching this. I honestly think the clandestine whole subplot just should have waited. Like maybe have it in a different
Mm,
series or a different time or a different moment. Like it just I don't know. I just wasn't invested with it as much. And again, these emotional moments where it's like it was you, Kamala. They're trying to get me to cry, but I'm like
mm,
I wasn't confused like you are, but it's also like if you think about the logic, it's not as clear cut, especially when we've gotten so many movies about the implications of time travel and what it means and how everything has to be in the exact place at the right time, otherwise you're gonna fuck with the whole timeline and stuff. And now this is the one series where we don't see the branching of the timelines, but this seems like the thing that would branch it and make it
mm.
crazy. You know what I mean? Like this is
Yeah,
where the
where's the
nexus event should be, right?
TVA?
Like this is where you should have broadened it into, like make it, I don't know.
Well, I guess if like if these all these shows are moving at the same time,
mm.
like I guess the TVA is kind of broken right now. So no one is coming.
But the TVA, even that, like we don't know what time period that is. It could be any time, you
Yeah,
know.
that's true because it was past
Yeah.
Loki that's in
So
the
is this
TVA.
because also there's the Spider-Man breaking of time, which Doctor Strange then fixed, but then broke open again in Multiverse of Madness, but then apparently sealed up, but then broke open again in the post-credit scene of Multiverse of Madness. So that could be it also. I don't know.
Oh yeah, you're right. This is all very Phase 4 is very inconsistent.
We have a theme. We're sensing a theme.
We're
Which
sensing a
is
theme here, and that
yeah.
it's the only thing that we can rely on with Phase 4 is that everything is inconsistent. That is the only consistency, is that everything's inconsistent.
Inconsistency is the new consistency. Orange is the new black.
Yeah.
What else did you think of this episode? Any other notes you took on it? Anything?
So and then she's able to go back to present day because she, helps Nani get to her dad. And now the veil's open. I don't understand how the veil opened. Is it because she stabbed the bangle?
Probably.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so
I don't
the
know.
veil cracks open, and now the clandestines are walking up to it. They're like, "Oh my god, we get to go home!" And then turn to dust. Skeletons revealed. Collapse. Pile of bones. We watched that twice. We watched that happen twice in this episode, and I'm laughing because it was just so like. I don't want to say foolish. I don't know if that's the right word, but it was just so like out of left field, so out of pocket to watch that happen. And then I feel like it didn't like nothing. Okay, now I understand why you criticize this episode so much because now I'm thinking about the tail end and
I'm just
Nesh.
cracking up.
I think how you pronounce it is Neshme. She walks up. She's like, I'll be able to make it. I'll be able to get through the veil. And Kamala's like, no, you won't. You just saw your friend turn to bones. Like, you're going to die. You have to be here for Kamran. And she's like, oh, but I left him behind. Like, he's not going to want to be with, like, be a part of my life anymore. And she's like, well, don't fuck up this world for him. Like, make it a better world for him. And she's like, I know how to fix it. And then she just says his name before she dies, and that somehow fixes everything.
And he gets powers.
And then
from
I
it.
guess now we're assuming that the veil is kind of like within him, because like his powers kind of take on the same shades and colors of what the veil is
Kamala's.
doing.
Oh, yeah.
No, Kamala's is. I mean, they're the same texture, but Kamala's is more like purple. But his powers are like the same
Okay.
color as like the veil that was opening up.
Right.
So I
Color-wise,
thought
gotcha.
that it was like with like kind of within him, and that's why in like the second our last episode he's like, it feels like I'm being split open from the inside out. I'm like, yeah, that's
like
the
Thanos
universe
if
trying
Ant-Man went up the butt. There we go. That's number 3.
There we go.
Yeah.
Take a shot every time Dale brings it up.
Brings it up the butt. So I that was a bad one. That was a really bad one. But yeah, I think it's if you get rid of the clandestines and Kamran completely, does the series change? Like the first, if you take away the Kamran and the clandestines and don't do episodes 4 and 5, and it's just episodes 1, 2, 3, and 6, it's just episode 6 doesn't have Kamran in it. The series is pretty much the same thing. The government is
Yeah.
trying to get a hold of Kamala. Kamala is learning what it's like to have her powers. She's learning how to get acceptance from her family, and
Yeah.
that's kind of it. You know, like the clandestines thing just seemed like such a weird subplot that I think if it had a better payoff, would have been worth it. But I think because this is how we end it, where they all just kind of like turn to skeleton, turn to dust, and like sure if it's maybe to support Kamran's story, but even then, I think he has kind of a lackluster ending too. So it's like I just don't understand why this
Sure.
was the route they decided to take with this character. I don't know. Um,
I
I
think
don't know. It was a
because
little letdown, a little bit of a letdown.
no, I get it, Jill. I think because like whenever they make these shows, they make whatever it is at its core. Like, um, I guess you could say that Miss Marvel is like a coming of age story at its
Right.
core. But then they're always like, okay, but now how do we raise the stakes? And they're like, well, why don't we connect it to another universe? And this dimension is trying to break open to this one. And
Mhm.
then if it does, the universe
Right.
explodes. And it's like, that's not how you raise the stakes in a coming of age
Well,
story.
and the
Like,
thing
there's
is,
so many different ways to do that.
yeah, and speaking of that coming of age thing, like I did a little research on the comics because I was just curious, like, is this all in like one comics issue? And the clandestines thing is a total separate series, a storyline in the comics, like it's its own
Hmm.
thing. And I think the core of what this series is, from what I've read about the comics, the big theme is like the strength of the community in struggle. It deals with a lot with Jersey specifically, and like the racism going on and the religious stuff going on, and her being this like friendly neighborhood person, but for that type of community that feels marginalized against. And I
Yeah.
feel like when you kind of take it across seas to this other world, you're kind of losing focus of what is so special about the show. Whereas Jersey becomes like such an afterthought. And like, as someone who's from Jersey, granted, I'm not from a community like theirs, but I am. It was cool to see a show set there. I wish it had
Hmm.
just stayed there and then gone
Hmm.
here in the second season. Make the whole second season about a clandestines and all that stuff. Make a whole movie about the clandestines or whatever if you want to go that route. But it was like, because Moon Knight from the beginning, it was about the gods, so it could go there. The whole
Sure.
time. Here, it didn't start off that way. It started as this cute little teenage comedy about this girl growing up in Jersey. Her best friend was like trying to become a person on the board or whatever because of this mosque and all the
Hmm.
indifferences they were facing. Like, I thought that was such a cool basic premise. You have a love triangle. You could even bring in Kamran as a love triangle, but why did you need to expand it then to make it about this other bigger otherworldly thing, like you're saying, like bring in a new dimension and all that stuff? I think you're losing the heart of what it is, and that is kind of what I had to complain about Spider-Man too. It's like so much of Spider-Man was about the Avengers and Spider-Man that he never got to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and now we're finally there. But it's like, why did we have to wait till the end of No Way Home to now be like, we got a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man? And I feel
Yeah.
that way here.
It's
It's
been
like,
3 movies.
let her be the friendly neighborhood Miss Marvel, let her be
Yeah.
that. Even though her powers are so otherworldly, so what? Like make her the friendly neighborhood one, like the ice cream pizza kid. Those are the people she needs to be saving, not the freaking
Right.
multiverse. So that's kind of my big thing. And I think just the clandestines, it was kind of, it almost felt like they wanted to add the storyline, but they didn't want to go full out with the storyline because they had other things to do. So they kind of just cut it short, and it felt underdeveloped.
No, yeah, I agree with you. Sorry, I'm just
Oh,
adjusting in my chair if you hear all
it's
that
okay.
all that
Oh, we do.
racket.
It's okay.
Um
Yeah, it's great.
so now this episode, we ended on an interesting note in this episode where
Yes.
Kamran seeks out
And
the help
Brian.
of in
Oh,
Brian,
sorry, Bruno.
and
Sorry.
we and we find out that he genuinely thought his name was Brian. So he's like, "Oh, I really thought your name was Brian. Like, sorry, dude." And Bruno's like a total, like he's totally a good guy. Like I've always been on Team Bruno, but I feel like I hope that his actions through this episode and the following episode, you kind of came around to Bruno,
Yeah, no, I
Dill.
did. But I'm glad Bruno got to see that Kamran was kind of a nice kid. Because here's the thing,
Sure.
Kamran in episode 6, they kind of want to go a villainous route with him, but they don't fully commit to it. He's still
Hmm.
good, I think, at the heart of it all.
Yeah.
When he gets angry, it's very justified based on what we get in
Hmm.
episode 6, where he finds out about his mom. But like, I
Right.
think Kamran is a good kid, and that's why I kind of like how Bruno's kind of like, oh fuck, you actually just got my name wrong. You're not an asshole. Like, I kind of like
Mm.
that. It was kind of like a taste of his own medicine. I was like, yeah, Bruno, sometimes people make mistakes, and I hope now you can get past it and move on. Um, and we'll see. There's a moment in episode 6 where he clearly was a little frazzled by something, but we'll see.
Sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, that episode 5 ends with Kamran going to his, his kind of apartment above the convenience store he owns with his parents. But now we kind of got it confirmed that his parents have not really been around for him much. What they're doing, I have
No.
no idea.
Seems like another plot line they just didn't want to develop. Instead, they
Yeah.
wanted to time travel into a different universe. Who cares?
Right. And then his convenience store blows up. And that's how the episode
That's how it ends. And that tells us about episode 6.
So jumping into
finale.
episode 6, no normal. There is no normal.
Not at all.
All right, here's the synopsis. Kamala and friends work together to try and protect herself and Kamran from the Department of Damage Control.
Yeah. Which, spoiler alert, if you forgot about them because it's been 2 episodes, yeah, there's that whole storyline going on. Oh, and 2 episodes ago, her best friend found out she was Miss Marvel. But, it's been literally 3 weeks since that episode. So, not like we needed to remember that very crucial information. Oh, and there's also a character named Zoe there, too, who we haven't heard from in 4 episodes. Just to keep track.
Yeah, a lot of randomness happened this episode. So we start off the episode with Kamala, telling the rest of her family that she is Nightlight. Unfortunately, that is the name that she's still going by, but they already know because you tell one family member, the rest of the family is bound to find out.
Mm-hmm.
Her mom makes her a new outfit, and it's
cute.
made out of her necklace that broke. That the S going down her shirt is, if you turned the necklace she was wearing vertical. So I thought that was like really cool how they established how to make that.
Yeah, these cute little family moments are so good. Even the one where she's telling the family and the brother's like, "What?" Like pretending like he's finding out for the first time. Like that kind of stuff I love, and I wish it was just more of that because it's so good. And that's what brought me back around to this finale, those family moments. I love those family moments.
Yeah, no, I agree. So Kamran and Bruno are on the run. They're trying to get to New York. They're seemingly on the nicest PATH train I've ever seen in my life. The PATH train,
you could lick the floor
like that. You could eat food off the floor of that PATH train. You cannot do that on the actual PATH train in real life.
God, no, you would die instantly.
You would get a new it wouldn't even be a new strand of COVID. It would just be a new disease. Like you would make the next pandemic happen.
Oh yes, yes.
And so they seek help through Nakia, who's at the mosque, and they're like, aren't places of worship, like, can't you seek sanctuary here? And she's like, no, not when all these people are, like, right in our ass. Like, the Department of Damage Control is, like, already suspicious of us. Like, they could show up at any time. And lo and behold, they do. And so the woman walks in. She says, I need to see everybody's ID cards. Everybody's already ready. They're like, this isn't our first rodeo. This happens to us a lot. And it was just like an emphasis on how unfairly the Muslim, Pakistani, Middle Eastern Americans get treated. And obviously this woman's been pissing me off from the beginning, so we all know my thoughts on her.
Right. And again, I like this moment a lot. I think this is like one of the stronger scenes that emphasize the overall like kind of how you have your like thesis statement in a paper. It's like, and there are some tangents you can go on, but you always have to bring it back to the thesis. This I feel like was like bringing it back to like the thesis, not that the show set up, but that the character has always stood for in the comics even that I read about. So yeah, I'm glad we're kind of getting back to that, and I wish it was a little bit more of that, but I think this was a good scene. Yeah.
No, yeah, I agree. Wow, sorry, I tried to Google something real quick, and that is not at all what I wanted to see at all. Well, anyway.
Did you see a picture of Ant-Man going up Thanos's, no.
Weak, Dill. That was a stretch.
That's okay. That was a stretch. Oh, well, so was Thanos's butt was a stretch after Ant-Man.
I am just teeing you up unintentionally, and you were just knocking them. I don't know if they're going out of the park, but they're definitely going deep into left field.
You know what?
No.
You know what's dirtier than a PATH train?
Oh, I thought you were gonna say something about going deep.
What's deep?
No, I was gonna stop you there.
Because you're not really going deep. You're going kind of up. You're going steep. I don't know.
I don't want to talk about this anymore. I'm gonna move on. Well, another moment that I liked in the mosque was when the mosque man, as I've been calling him, he quote, he like, goes toe to toe with the main woman from Department of Damage Control. And she's like, I don't have time for Quran quotes. And then she goes, and he's just like, actually, that was Abraham Lincoln. And I was just like, yeah, take that, you racist bitch. And
Do it.
so
Say it louder.
I said it. I said it.
Good.
So basically they decide, we find out that one of the random kids from the party episode is actually Nakia's boyfriend. So that was like the big
I thought he was just saying that. Like, I thought that was like a ploy to like
Oh,
distract.
okay, so I thought this is what I thought. I didn't actually look into this to confirm, but I thought that he was one of the kids in the party episode because remember there was like 5 of them in the
Oh
car
yeah,
and it was
the
just like 2
simians of the
random
world.
guys.
Yeah.
Yes. This poor
Sorry,
kid.
we name dropped you, buddy.
No, we love him though. And I thought that it was one of them that they were hanging out with that she was like has been like her actual boyfriend and she was just like, "Oh, like, keep this on the down low." And then maybe it was the first time that they confirmed that they were boyfriend and girlfriend because then he's like, wow, I got her to say it finally. Are you wearing a body cam? Because I would love a copy of this footage.
Okay. See,
That's
they
what I
did not make
interpret
that
him
clear.
as.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was just a ploy as part of the plan to distract or whatever. Yeah, no, like that makes sense.
No, it was definitely
That's
like
funny though. Yeah.
part of the stalling, but I think that that's
Right.
might be her
But it's actually
actual
there was some
boyfriend.
truth. Okay, well, good for
Yeah.
her. Glad she's getting more of a story because she has been one of my favorites. So
No, I agree. So then Kamran, Bruno, Nakia, they all decide that they need to no one's going to be around at the school, so that's probably the best place to hide out. So Kamala finds them. She's stoked to see Bruno, being that the last thing she heard about him is that his convenience store blew up. So the fact that he's alive and well is great news to her.
Yes.
And they kind of, have this whole like stakeout. It's a very like Home Alone-esque, like setting up the pranks and the traps and everything at the school. But of course, before we get into this montage, a character comes back from 4 episodes ago, Zoe.
Oh, Zoe just showing up.
She's at the school, and it's because the theater has great lighting, because that's where she films her TikToks. And I've never heard something like more millennial. Like, oh, they were in the writer's room and they were like, why would she be at the school? Oh, because that's where she films her TikToks, the TikTok videos.
Yeah.
That's where she could be doing that, right?
I also have a little bit of a gripe with this because I don't know exactly where this takes place in the timeline, but assuming that it's after the blip, it's been 5 years in the future at least. How do we know that TikTok's still going to be a big thing in 5 years? And how is it that now the first name drop of TikTok is in Miss Marvel? Like 2027, we don't know, because I don't know what year this would take place, but we don't know for sure or I guess maybe 2025 or 26. I don't know. But like, how do we know that TikTok's still going to be a big thing? That'd be like if someone said like MySpace, if someone made a movie in like 2005 and like about 2015 and said MySpace, that would just not be correct.
No, you're right, Jill. But at the same time, I feel like Instagram is still pretty popular, and like that came out when we were freshmen in high school.
True, but it also this using stuff that's so pop culture and relevant when your show is set in the future. I think you run into a little bit of a trap, unless this is set during 2022. In that case, I might have missed it, but I feel like we're still in blippage territory where we're like after the blip, or maybe we're during the blip, and this is what was happening while the blip happened. I don't know. And maybe for us.
I definitely think that we're post blip, and I definitely think that this is just probably one of those things where they were like, this show is going to be advertised, like the target audience for this show is probably, it's going to be from like 10 to 15 year olds. And what are 10 to 15 year olds doing? They're a TikToking.
Yeah.
So
they're TikToking, or they're falling asleep at the boring episodes that came before it because they had nothing to do with the first 3. I'm just kidding. Right. I'm done harping on those. Let's keep going.
Or they're eating ice cream pizza.
Yeah, or they're not watching Ant-Man go up Thanos' butt because that's too inappropriate for them. I will say though, yeah, this plan they do come up with though. Like I love the little like moments of everyone turning the corner and then there's a fire extinguisher and the
Yeah,
tennis
yeah,
balls. Like
yeah.
I like that fun nature of it. It brings us back to the core of them all just being kids and having fun. And I like how her brother is also involved, which is just hilarious.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. The fact that he's
I
like,
love that stuff. Yeah.
yeah. And the fact that he's like, "Oh, I'm here because, mom wanted me to watch out for you." And she's like, "Superheroes don't need a babysitter." So we do get confirmed with all the Zoe nonsense that, like, she did know that it was Kamala who saved her life. And now she
Yeah.
feels like she, owes Kamala for saving her at Avengers Con, that,
See, growth.
she's
We
here to
love
help
growth.
her.
We
Yeah,
love Zoe.
character
We love
development.
growth. Yeah.
So yes, it was very entertaining to watch all of the pranks and shenanigans go down. The science experiment happened, the moment with like all the softballs, all that jazz. But then Kamran and Kamala share a little bit of a moment in
And
Mr.
I was
Wilson's
very
office.
thrilled. I was thrilled. I was
All right,
thrilled.
all
And
right.
who ruined it? Who ruined the moment?
Because
Tell
obviously
us.
they got to keep us on our toes still. So Kamran and Kamala are hiding behind Mr. Wilson's desk. They're both kind of pretty shaken because, these men with weapons are hunting them down. So, they have a little bit of a hand holding moment and their powers are kind of like infusing. For a second, I thought that they were going to take the route of like, oh, all Kamran needed was to like kind of like merge or like touch
Yeah.
or something
You
Kamala,
think
and
that
then
would have
that
been a great moment to
their
end their
powers
little
would
arc.
help each
Yeah.
other out.
Yeah.
No, that's not what we
No.
got. So then I said out loud to myself, because I was watching this by myself, if they kiss right now, I'm going to throw up. So then they, I don't know, it just felt like the
Jeez.
wrong time. Like, we're getting hunted with weapons. Don't try to kiss me. So then, or maybe it's like, oh, we're getting hunted with weapons. Maybe this might be our last opportunity to kiss, so maybe we should. I don't know the vibes. So I've never been in a life or death situation where I felt like I needed to be kissed. You can't ask me. So they have this moment where it's like, oh, are they, and then it's Bruno pops in and is like, guys, you need to go. And obviously he's very let down, very heartbroken about the fact that he just walked in on a little bit of a moment. And so he's like, you guys go, I'm going to distract them. And now this is when shit starts getting kind of serious, because Bruno's like, hey, like, follow me, look at me, watch me dance, like whatever.
Yeah, and
And
they
all of
beat
a
the
sudden,
crap out of him.
he gets his shit rocked. The fact that he didn't have a black eye
Wait a
in the
sec.
next scene.
Didn't he like break his arm in the last episode, or the last time I saw him in
Bruno's
episode 3?
Bruno
Wasn't he like
has,
thrown into a wall during the wedding and like broke
yes,
something? Like, how is he just walking fine?
he's been taking a beating in this whole series, and it's
Awesome.
because he loves Kamala and he's just the best. So
Love
I will
hurts.
hear no Bruno slander from here on out. Dill.
I'm not slandering Bruno. I'm just saying love hurts.
Love hurts. Everybody
Love
hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then Kamran just starts getting all angry because then finally he has to ask about the mother, and she's not gonna lie because
So then,
mama's
yes,
dead.
the truth comes out. Kamala's been like trying to like not tell him because she doesn't want to ruin his whole life, especially not right now. But he does kind of put two and two together, and it realizes that his mother is very much not alive anymore.
Yeah.
And that he starts bugging out, as anyone would. I can't blame the kid.
I think this was warranted. I really do, and I think it just makes him a multi-layered character. Does this hurt their chances of romance in the future? Well, we'll talk about it a little bit later where he ends up at the end of this episode, but I feel like that might have ended, and that kind of sucks. But we'll see.
You win some, you lose some. There's plenty of
hurts.
fish in the sea. And going on behind the scenes of all this is the fact that the main woman for the Department of Damage Control is completely disobeying orders. They're like, this is bad press. You can't attack a high school with a bunch of kids in it. Get out of there. And she's like, no, send in the backup units. And we're just like, okay, she's going rogue now. This is like personal for her.
This is why we got on Disney Plus a little disclaimer about the contents of the episode, because she was basically firing on students in a school. I have a little bit of a qualm to pick with that, only because Disney loves to make sure at the end to say this fictional series, as if it's like it almost comes across a little annoyed. Like Disney is like, ugh, we have to put this here, even though it's a fictional series. They want us to put this disclaimer on there, and I'm like, all
Mm,
right, settle down. Like almost like an eye roll. Like it's fictional, but like we still got to put a disclaimer here anyway. Otherwise, we're gonna get in
sure.
trouble. Like come on, Disney. Like it's sensitive material. It's kids being attacked at a school. That is not easy for a lot of people to watch. So like take your shit seriously. Anyway, I don't know. I hope I'm not reading into that too much, but it
Honestly,
annoyed me.
Dill, no, I totally get where you're coming from. That's not even where like I took it in my brain because like I was just thinking about like Black Lives Matter and like the fact that
Oh,
they were
okay. Yeah.
opening fire on, this man who is of color, and they're
Mm,
just like opening fire on him, and
could
I
be
was
that
like
too. Yeah.
that's where my brain
Hmm.
took it.
Yes.
And so yeah, it was very
Yeah.
it was very daunting, and it
Hmm.
took a very serious and
Yeah.
unsettling tone
Yeah.
at
I,
like
I
the
think it's
very
also,
last second
yeah.
here.
For me, it was putting the word fictional in the disclaimer just made it seem like they were almost kind of like why do we have to do this? Our show is fiction. Like just I don't know
Okay,
that use
sure.
of the use of that word was like a little like I just don't know. I was rubbed a little bit of the wrong way. Like I think they should have if they had that serious stuff in it, they should have taken it
No,
seriously.
I
And
know,
and
I
I,
know what
I'm
you
glad they
mean.
put a disclaimer though. I am glad they put a disclaimer because I think it is important. We saw
Right.
one with Obi-Wan. There was one for Stranger Things. Like there's disclaimers for everything. So
Yeah.
that it could be sensitive, and I'm glad there is. But
Keep
mm,
Yeah. And yeah, so it was totally like a take on police brutality for me
yeah,
on
for
my
sure.
end. But,
Yeah, it could be all those things. Yeah.
absolutely. So yeah, so he's kind of bugging out. Kamran has kind of come to the conclusion that like if no one's going to accept me here, if all these people want to do is just, like kill me or detain me or,
Yeah.
or whatever, like I'm just gonna like bug
Hmm.
out because what else do I have left to do? And they start open firing on him, and Kamala jumps down and starts protecting him, and she
Hmm.
kind of like talks him out of like wanting to end it this way or do whatever. And she's like, I know someone who can get you out of town, like you'll be safe,
Yeah.
just
And
don't
that's
do this.
that's kind of the end of where we see Kamran because he goes to
Yeah.
Pakistan, and that's kind of assuming where he'll end up. I don't know how much more we're gonna get of this series because we know she's gonna be in the Marvels, but like I don't know if they're gonna
Yeah.
revisit this exact group of characters again, at least not for a little while. Because it also seemed like they kind of sent Bruno and what's her name, the friend Nakia on like kind of a different path as well to where like this did have a lot of closure, so I don't know if Kamran is going to be a thing again. It makes me a little bummed, but hey, I'm glad they had the nice little fling while it lasted.
Right.
Yeah.
So we see kind of in this last like fight moment here, we see
Mm,
Kamala's powers take on, a different level. She kind of,
yeah.
it's like she got a new perk or something, or it was
Yeah,
like
she can like
achievement
grow now.
unlocked.
Yeah, yeah.
So now she says embiggen. And then she like all her limbs lengthen, she gets
Hmm.
stronger. She can start, taking whole tanks and
Hmm.
guns and weaponry and cars out with like one punch.
Right.
It was really interesting to like see her powers like kind of take on their own
Hmm. Yeah, I like the
strength.
use of the word "embiggen" as if "enlargen" isn't an actual word that exists. It has to be a fake word, "embiggen," but I like "embiggen." It's a fun word.
Mm. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I wrote it down because I was like, I wonder what that means.
So like
Uh
Ant-Man goes up and then he embiggens inside Thanos.
oh, oh God.
And that's
Now
the
we're
sound
being
it makes.
ew. Now we're beating the dead horse. Where's that dead horse when we need
See,
it?
that is a phrase. Thank you.
It's a phrase. It was just you said it completely wrong. You were like, I don't want to be a dead horse that's dead or something.
I
Like
was,
I
I
don't
was
even
like,
know what you
yeah, I don't
said.
know. We'll play back the tape. I don't care.
Uh,
Yeah. So
so
what else
now
happens in this episode? We got a little bit
so
of
we
time left.
finish on a very we finish on some strong notes here. So after this whole battle, where by the way the townspeople just gathered around Kamala to
Yeah.
protect her, and even the police in Jersey City turned around and had her back. They were like, no, you're
I
not getting
liked. Yeah.
through. But when damage control like started actually filing, everyone just kind of moved for them. They were like, oh yeah, right this way, like
Right.
she's right through here. I was like, you guys aren't doing anything.
Another thing that confused me: the parents have been so strict to this show, what changed that now they're smiling like that's our daughter when she's like running through the air. Like mom's like, and I'm like, what? Like, weren't you literally like banning
I
her to go
don't know.
to AvengerCon? Do you think something happened to
Sure.
Pakistan where she kind of like let it go a little bit and she was like,
I,
I'm gonna be a little bit more,
I
trusting that my daughter will be okay?
Yeah, I think like the rekindling with her with the relationship with
Okay,
Nani definitely helped her like with her perspective on how she should be treating
right.
Kamala. You know what I
Good.
mean?
Yeah, and she probably thinks if you're the nightlight, if we're finding all this out now, you've done stuff already. Like it's not like this is gonna be any different than saving Ice Cream Pizza Boy. So
Yeah, and I think there's like a moment of pride where when you find out like, your kid's like a literal superhero. So I think that when she starts, walking through the air, it's like, well, what else could I do except smile right now?
yeah, true.
So we end on this adorable dad moment where Kamala is talking to her dad on the roof of their house. And he's, telling her, like, your mom and I tried for years to have a second child. Like, you were kind of like our miracle baby. And so we had to name you Kamala because Kamal in Arabic means perfect, because that's what you were when you were born. You were absolutely perfect. But in another language, in Urdu, he says that it means like wonder or marvel. And she's like, I have the same name as Carol
Carol Danvers.
Danvers. Like,
Yeah,
oh my God. And he's like, yeah, well, that's what you've always been to us, our little Miss Marvel. And I was like, oh, I
it was
like
cute. That was
that.
cute. That
I
was cute.
like that.
I almost wish it was a conversation with both parents, just because I feel like mom was such a big
Hmm.
part of her journey as well. I wish it was a little bit more of both. But mom did have the soup
Okay.
moment, so I get it.
Yes.
For dad to have this moment, but like dad was so absent for the last two episodes, and I think that's just a fault of the structure of the show. But I almost wish it was both of them in that moment, just because this
Sure.
has been about the whole family. But I get it. It was a sweet moment with dad, for sure. And then
So then
the
we
post
cut.
credits.
We're at 1 week later first. First, we're at
Oh,
1 week
right. Duh.
later. And
Oh, yeah. No,
Bruno,
we got to talk about this. Oh, yeah. Okay.
yeah. So Bruno is driving Kamran's car because, Kamran's in Pakistan now. Someone needs to
Just get a
drive the
free
car. It's going
car.
to be
That's
me.
kind of sweet. Kind of sweet.
Um,
Sweet deal.
so, Bruno, the whole gang is back together. Bruno decides that he is going to Caltech and that he's going to be leaving for that soon. Nakia and Kamala have made up. So, the three stooges are back together. And, Bruno takes this opportunity to say, like, hey, like, your brother kept asking me to look into his genetics to see if one day he would get superpowers. And I looked into your upbringing and your genes and everything, and there's something different about you than the rest of your family. Like, you have a mutation.
Oh, they're here.
And
We thought Ralph Boner was the X-Men introduction. It is not. It is this.
it
Um,
yeah.
Continue, Kelsey. Yeah, because this was big, and the music that played was the theme from the X-Men animated series. So it was just like, whoa, yeah,
Oh,
oh yeah. Did you watch the
nice.
subtitles? Yeah, it was like X-Men '97 theme, and I was like, oh, what? Yeah.
Wow. I did watch with subtitles and I still miss that. That's
Oh,
hilarious.
okay, yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, and it's this like almost it feels like it's going to be this big reveal and Kamala just goes, "Well, whatever it is, just another label." Anyway, let's go. And she like totally brushes
Yeah,
off, like she doesn't
yeah,
care.
yeah.
And I did have to include that Nakia before driving away says, "Get in, bitches, we're getting shawarma," which is not only a Mean Girls reference, but also a reference to obviously the shawarma scene in
Right,
Avengers.
right.
And now we are finally at the post-credit scene. And the bangle starts malfunctioning while Kamala's in her room. She gets thrown back into her closet. And who appears? None other than Miss Carol Danvers herself.
We knew it was coming at some point. What do
I
you think
was
of this?
I was expecting a little bit more, I'm not gonna lie. I thought
Okay.
that, she was gonna be there for Kamala at some point. I was trying to figure out in my brain how she would do that, like to make it
Yeah.
make sense and everything. So I get like this was kind of all we got, but I'm
I didn't
interested. I'm
mind it.
intrigued.
I didn't mind it because I think if she had come in, it would have been a little too much Iron Man, Spider-Man thing where like I
Sure.
like how they let her kind of figure out her powers on her own. Because I feel like if they made Captain Marvel like a mentor in any of these episodes, it would have been a little bit too much of what the Spider-Man Iron Man thing was. I like how now that she's established herself as an actual superhero, now we can reunite or unite her with Captain Marvel. At first I thought they would swap bodies, but then when she picked up the thing, she realized she was in a different place. I guess they swapped places. At first I thought it was like a Freaky Friday thing because I was like, oh my god, she turned into Carol Danvers, but then Carol
Oh.
Danvers was like, uh-oh, and like looked
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
thing, and I
yeah.
was like, oh no, so Carol and her just probably swapped places,
Wow.
which is really interesting,
Interesting.
and
Interesting.
that'll be a fun intro to the Marvels, I think. Because as far as we know, they're together in that show, but in that movie. But we've also kind of
Mhm.
seen her at the post credits of Shang Chi, so like we know she's around, and her hair
Yeah.
is long again. But I'm very excited to see that. I'm excited. I love Brie Larson, and even in this little moment, I loved seeing her. I loved her acting in this
Yes.
little moment. It was great. It was
Yes.
sweet. It was a little bit more. I think it seemed like they were correcting a little bit of what a lot of like toxic men thought of the portrayal of Captain Marvel. She's too bland, she's too one note. Like she was really like kind of acting a little bit more to where like I think it was a little bit more to appease, give her a little bit more spunk, I guess, which I don't think she
Okay.
needs. I like her character how she is, but I maybe just to appease those fans, like she seemed like it was a little
Sure.
bit of a new energy to her. um
Sure.
but I'm very excited for that. But I want to talk really quickly about the mutation thing because I think that's like a big thing. Like this is the confirmation that X-Men are coming. Um, in the comics, and this is why I went into the comics because I wanted to know, is
Cool.
she an X-Men? And she's not.
Yeah.
She's one of the Inhumans. And
Mm.
I get the Inhumans TV show on Netflix was a flop. It went one season. People didn't like it. They brought back Black Bolt for Multiverse of Madness, but that's the only ever crossover the Inhumans has gotten with the
Mm.
MCU so far. And Black Bolt, I thought, was one of the more memorable parts of the Illuminati in Multiverse of Madness. But I don't mind them changing her and making her a mutant instead of an Inhuman. I think this is a natural segue into the X-Men. I just hope they still like let her exist outside of X-Men and let her be her own thing and not just make her like one of a group now. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So that's my only worry is that they're just going to kind of be like, oh, good, we can throw her in with all the other X Men. I hope this is just a way of setting up the fact that there are mutants. And maybe she can be almost like a Professor X figure. Maybe her and Bruno are the ones who kind of like go out and rally all the mutants together. Like Bruno can make it
Mm.
his goal to go find the X Men and like organize this thing. I think that'd be a really interesting thing because we don't know Bruno. I don't know if we know Bruno's last name. Maybe his last name is Xavier and his real name's Charles. No, I'm
Mm.
kidding. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But like something like that, where like this could be like the Nick Fury type thing, where Bruno now his path is to find these other mutants. I think that'd be a really interesting route to take. But thoughts on that? Are you excited about the fact that we might now see X-Men sooner than anticipated?
I am excited. I've been waiting for this reveal. I've been waiting for this crossover since
Mm-hmm.
Ralph Boner, and I'm glad that Kamala
Mm-hmm.
Khan is the saving grace here.
Yeah,
She's the light at the end of a very long dark tunnel
she's
I've
the
been in.
nightlight, if you will,
She is
of
the nightlight.
the
She's my
dark tunnel
nightlight.
that is Thanos' butt. That is the last time I will reference that.
Oh my
Any last
god.
thoughts on the series? I kind of said what I said about the series. I think the first three episodes and the last episode kind of tonally felt good together. The other two felt like a diversion. I think the Clandestines was that extra added storyline that they didn't necessarily need. I think it would have been fine without them and Kamran. I think if you just make it about her in Jersey City, her powers, and the department of whatever they are trying to shut her down and bring in the stuff with the mosque and the Muslim stuff, I think that's a better series than what we got. But I do
Mm,
think it was vibrant. It was fun. I kind of miss all the like doodles and artwork that would happen in episode one. Like, where did all that go? It kind of disappeared.
sure. Yeah.
I wish there was more of that. I think it started very strong, ended pretty strong. Somewhere in the middle, I got a little lost. But overall, not the worst thing I've seen. Definitely one of the weaker series, but not the worst. I think there's still worse series out there. What did you think of just the series as a whole?
Well, Dill, I'll let you know my thoughts by giving you the rundown of the ranking that I did of the 6 episodes.
Oh, great. I haven't
So
even thought about it, but I will do the same after you're done. Yes.
So number one is obviously episode one,
I
Generation
agree.
Y.
I agree.
It was just started off on such a high note. I was into it from the beginning. It
All right. I
that
have my
one
ranking.
really
I have my ranking.
okay, great. That was quick.
It was easy.
Um, okay, great.
Let's see if we have the
Um,
same.
no. Do you want to share your number one now, or do you want me to completely finish and then you go?
Go through your whole list because I think it'll just work for your thoughts on the series if you just kind of cover them all together. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, totally. So then my second, my number two, I'm not going to say a close second because I just feel like the first episode was just like drastically better than the rest of them.
The rest.
But coming in at number two, is Time and Again, the Aisha's episode. I really like that one a lot. I like the
Which episode
flashback
number is that?
episode.
Is that 5?
Episode 5.
Yeah, no, that is not the same ranking as me. Okay, keep going.
Anyway, coming in at number 3 is actually episode 3, Destin, the wedding episode, which I know that one you liked a lot, Dill. Number 4 is the finale, episode 6, No Normal.
Okay.
And then my bottom 2 are definitely episode 4, Seeing Red, and at the bottom, episode 2, Crushed.
Yeah, we're a little similar. I switched up a
Okay.
few things around. So I have episode 1 is the tippity top, then episode 3 the wedding, I love it. Episode
Yep.
6 the finale, and then I have
Okay.
2 which is Crushed, and then 5 and
Mm.
4 after that, like 5 and then 4. Just because I think the 4th and 5th episodes just kind of took me out of the show in general.
Sure.
And I don't love episode 2 either, but I think at least it kind of captured the spirit of the show. I was annoyed a lot at Bruno, but I think it fell in line with this coming of age story really well. So
Yeah.
I think overall the series is a little bit of a mixed bag. I think what it did well, it really did well. What it did poorly, it did very poorly. I'm about 5 or 6 on the series as a whole. Like I'm very middle of the road on it. It's very
Mhm.
average for me. Like this is 5.5, like average out of 10. So nothing remarkable, but nothing bad. What would you give the series number as a whole, just like out of 10?
I'd probably give it. I'd give it like a 7 out of 10.
Cool. Yeah, nice 3.5 stars. Yeah, that's very fun. Good episodes. I think this last half of the season was not as strong as the first, but that's just what'll happen with some series. Sometimes they'll start strong, end badly, or sometimes they'll peak in the middle. Sometimes they'll dip in the middle. We've gotten all types of series.
Yep.
So next week. And I haven't really talked much about this with Kelsey, but I figured we're getting a lot of Comic-Con news next weekend. So I thought it'd be fun to kind of just dissect everything we get. So next Sunday night we'll record because that'll be at the end of Comic-Con for Monday. But we are going to cover all the stuff we hear from Comic-Con. Which I believe is happening either Wednesday or Thursday through Sunday. We're supposed to get news. Some people are rumoring that we'll hear about the Fantastic Four director announcement. Some are saying that that'll wait till D23 in September. Who knows? I know there was a rumor cycling that Steven Spielberg would do it, and that is not true. He's not doing that because A, he's doing Indiana Jones 5, and B, I just don't think Steven Spielberg is going to do a Marvel movie. I'm sorry, fans, but I think the directors they're going to get now are going to be either directors who have worked within the superhero genre or are like up and coming filmmakers. I've heard sources say that Steven Spielberg is confirmed not, so I don't think you all should get your hopes up for that. But whatever director does take on the project, I'm very excited for. We also might get some news on X-Men. People are saying we might hear some stuff about Deadpool. Who knows what we're going to get? I'm going to wait to find out till Comic-Con. We're not going to be there. We're not going all the way to San Diego, but I will have my news rolling 100%. I'm going to be watching along on YouTube, watching the Hall H stuff with Marvel. So we will talk about that next week. And then if we have other time to fill, if there's not a lot of information, then we'll find something else to plan for you guys. And then the week after that, we'll be having 2 great trivia matches. One between yours truly and Matt Chapman. I'm going to take out my anger on Matt because he took so long to give me a nickname and then lost to Zach. And I want him to try to face an opponent that beat Zach and see if maybe he can beat the man that he got beat by. I don't know. It was a fun challenge. I wanted to put it out there. And then the triple threat match with Noah, Carrie, and Chad. That'll also be very, very fun. A really big jam-packed episode. And Kelsey will have someone else on the desk with her for my trivia match. And I think it might be Zach. But I have to just get confirmation with that. And she'll be writing that match all by herself. So Godspeed, Kelsey. Good luck. Anywhere they can find you?
Good luck to you.
Please don't make it hard. Actually, no, make it as hard as you want. That's what she said. Make it difficult. God. Make it as difficult as Ant-Man going up the butt of Thanos and exploding within him. That is the last time I will say it. Kelsey, where can they find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Kelsey A. Kilpatrick. You can follow me on TikTok at Cause13, or you can subscribe to my YouTube channel, Cause Productions.
Oh yeah. And you can find me at the Dill Pickle Movie Network. If you're listening, go check it out on video. If you're here on video, just look at the other videos because there's a lot of great ones, especially as we move on to the rest of the summer with summer movies. I did an animation wrap up since I haven't reviewed any of the Pixar movies this year, and I wanted to also talk about Minions because it surprised the hell out of me in a good way. And Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which is probably my favorite movie I've ever seen ever. Just kidding, I'm exaggerating, but it's one of my favorite things I've ever seen. So I wanted to do a little bit of a review for all of those movies. So go check that out. I just posted that last week. Otherwise, you can find me at Dylan_Randazzo at Twitter and or Letterboxd, and Dylan Randazzo 417 at TikTok. That's all from me and Kelsey. We'll see you next week with some Comic-Con news. Hopefully some big announcements. It's a news day next week, and I cannot wait.